Okay, we have Dan Branch speaking to us. He's running for Attorney General, and he gets 5 minutes. Ready, set, go.
Thank you, Julie. Jonathan, it's good to be with you, and thank you all for letting me come by. It's great to be with our great General Abbott. How about a big hand for the next governor of Texas? Thank you for being here, and thank you for standing up for Texas for these going on 12 years as the longest-serving Attorney General. It's my hope and my aspiration to follow in Greg Abbott's footsteps. Big shoes in the Office of Attorney General. The reason I'm running is to stand up to an overly aggressive federal government. I think it's only going to get worse. I think the environment that Greg has worked in has been increasingly tough. I think it will only get worse once we get past the midterms. And this Attorney General, Eric Holder, and this President Obama, will have no political break on their last 2 years of their legacy. So I think we're going to have to be even tougher, if that's possible, General, to stand up to this federal government. And that's really why I'm running for Attorney General. I think we also need to preserve open and transparent government in Texas, and the Attorney General does a whole lot in that regard, particularly with interpreting the Public Information Act and the Open Meetings Act and his whole Open Records Division. That's a very important aspect. And finally, to preserve limited government here in Texas. I notice here at Northeast Tarrant T, you guys get the focus on limited government. And ultimately, as the state's top lawyer, I aim to help preserve limited government. It's not just about low taxation, right? It's about light and sensible regulations, and the Attorney General's opinion power is very important in preserving our limited government here in Texas. You know, I grew up in San Antonio. I came to North Texas to go to law school at SMU. Met a girl that I ultimately convinced to be my wife, and you know how that works. 3 decades later, 5 children later, I never quite got back to San Antonio. So I've been really honored to represent the Dallas, Central, North Dallas area in the House and serve my district in that way. And I'm now looking to serve this state as the next Attorney General. I've practiced law for over 3 decades and been ranked at the highest level of my profession, both in ethics and ability, for over 2 decades. And I'm really fortunate because we have had a lot of smart lawyers and judges who've taken a look at this race early on. I know a lot of people have been focused on the governor's race and the entrance of Wendy Davis, and I'm one who's not worried about General Abbott taking care of. We're going to work hard, General, but we're going to show Texas is still plenty red, and so I'm not so worried about that. But I do think that people are now waking up to the Lieutenant Governor's race and the Attorney General's race, Comptroller's race, and we're glad because when some tough lawyers took a look at this race a couple of weeks and months ago, they looked at all the candidates, and so the senior lieutenants that General Abbott hired to help him fight Obama, those who've now left that office, almost all of them have endorsed our campaign and our message, and I was really grateful for that. And then we reached out to the senior legal leadership of Senator Cruz. And whether it's his treasurer, Brad Canepa, or whether it's transition team members or his successor as a solicitor, Jim Ho, nearly all of the legal leadership around Senator Cruz took a look at all 3 candidates and endorsed our message and our campaign. And that was a great shot in the arm to our campaign to go on top of the majority of my peers in the legislature. So when the majority of the peers who've worked with you closely and seen you at your best and maybe at your worst after midnight, when maybe your temper's a little short, and they still will endorse you, even though they have primary elections coming up and that didn't have to, that's a real boost to our campaign, and including in that group, the Tea Party coalition chairman of the House, Alan Fletcher. So we were really honored to have, along with Dwayne Bohack, one of the vice chairs of the Tea Party caucus in the House of Representatives. So grateful for their support. I ask you to please consider my credentials along with them. Look at our message. Hope you'll consider us. And I ask not only for your consideration and support, but I ask for your vote. One last little story to sort of make the case. A lot of people that are running, those of us who are running to succeed General Abbott, are saying we want to continue his legacy. and stand up to an overreaching federal government. You don't have to look further than the IRS or the EPA or the DOJ or the NSA. Everywhere you look, it's almost un-American what's going on. But we need to have someone who's not only will talk tough, but actually be tough and be competent and be smart and push back. And when I came into the legislature, I had been, as a young lawyer and a young parent, stunned by a decision in 1985 by the Supreme Court when 6 justices said that the state of Alabama couldn't have prayer, even silent prayer, in their schools. I was taken aback by that. I have 5 young kids, and we thought you ought to at least have an acknowledgement of a creator in the public school system. And so when I first got in, my first term in 2003, we celebrate this law now 10 years this year. I went to work and passed the Moment of Silence bill, where you say not only a minute of silence, but you get to say the Texas Pledge and the U.S. Pledge. And so every day we have 5 million students in Texas now saying that, because I stood up and not only passed the law, but also did it in a thoughtful way, worked with a young solicitor named Cruz, Ted Cruz at General Abbott's office, worked with General Abbott and his team and Jim Ho, and ultimately passed this legislation. And so today, in Texas, I have a record of pushing back against an aggressive federal government. And today, our children and grandchildren get to say prayer in the schools and the pledge in the schools because we push back. So thank you for your support, Julie, and thank you for the opportunity. Again, that's Dan Branch for Attorney General.